Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Physics Exam Point. Today we are going to start our preparation for any physics competitive exam with the nuclear and particle physics course. Because if you analyze any paper or for any physics competitive exam, whether you are preparing for CSIR or GATE or any job related exams also, then you find out that the nuclear and particle physics course is one of the most scoring course in physics, that if you prepare well then you can easily score very good marks in nuclear and particle physics course. So in this particular video we are going to discuss basics of nuclear properties, and after this video we are also going to make around 4 and 5 more videos, and we cover entire course or main topics or frequently asked topics in the various physics competitive exams, so that you cover entire nuclear and particle physics course syllabus in within 3 and 4 hours of time. And if you remember all these things what we are going to discuss in these videos, you will definitely solve most of the questions from nuclear and particle physics so easily that even you do not take even 1 minute for solution of any particular questions on the nuclear and particle physics related. So before going to the main part of this video, I want to mention that in this particular video we are going to discuss few fundamental properties of nucleus, and those are basic isotopes, isobars, isotones, and then following the mirror nuclei. After discussing all these things, then we are going move to the binding energy part of the nucleus, and then binding energy per nucleon versus the mass number curve. This is very important curve, and generally question asked from this binding energy per nucleon curve, because most of the properties of the nucleus can be explained in terms of the binding energy per nucleon curve, and we will going to discuss all these properties in this particular video. And after discussing all these properties, we are going to discuss properties of the nuclear forces, and properties of nuclear forces in also the both MCQ type and MSQ type questions are generally asked from the properties of nuclear forces. And after discussing all these properties, we will going to discuss a few frequently asked questions that are already asked in the previous year exams of different level of different physics competitive exams. So we will going to discuss few previous year questions and solutions at the last part of this video. So you should watch till the last, and you can find out that what kind of questions are generally asked from the basic nuclear properties of the nucleus. And you if you look at those questions, and so you it will really help you to prepare for the nuclear and particle physics section. So let's start our video with the isotopes, isobar, and isotones mirror nuclei discussion. So before going to discuss isotopes and isobar section, we will start our discussion with the how we can symbolically represent the nucleus, and then we move to the isotope section. And before going to discuss all isotopes and isobar section, first look at the what is the nucleus. And as we all know that Rutherford told us that within the nucleus we have a number of protons, and later on Chadwick told us that also have nucleus also has a number of neutrons, where the number of protons are the positive charge particle and number of neutrons are the chargeless particle, and both combinedly known as the number of nucleons and equals to the atomic mass of the nucleus. Atomic mass is represented by A, and a number of protons within the nucleus are represented by Z. So we can symbolically represent a nucleus by Zx by A, Zxa, where X is any arbitrary nucleus, and where Z represents the number of protons and A represents the number of nucleons within the nucleus, which combinedly number of protons plus a number of neutrons. Here are the examples of two nucleus, and the oxygen nucleus and the hydrogen nucleus. Now let's move to the isotope section. Isotopes are those nuclei in which number of protons are remain same, while the number of nucleons within the nucleus are going to change. So number of protons are same, 1 but the number of nucleons within the nucleus, that atomic mass going to change, and then atomic mass 1, atomic mass 2, and atomic mass 3. So these are isotopes. Now let's move to the isobar section, then follow up by the isotones and mirror nuclei section. Isobar are those nuclei in which particularly the atomic mass are remain same, but the number of protons are changed. So example of isobars are 8, 16, and 7 and 16. Those are oxygen nucleus and nitrogen nucleus, and these are the example of isobars. Now let's move to the isotone section. Isotones are those nuclei in particular number of neutrons are remain same, while the number of neutrons are remain same, while the number of protons are getting changed. That is, the number of mass is also gets changed. So example of isotones are 11, the sodium nucleus and the magnesium nucleus. So you can find out these are the isotones. That is, number of neutrons are remain same. And now let's move to the last part. Then last part is the mirror nuclei. And in the mirror nuclei are a pair of nuclei in which the uh, total number of nucleons within the nucleus are remain same. That is, atomic mass remains same, while the number of protons and number of neutrons between two nuclei are interchanged. That is, if first nuclei has suppose z number of protons, then the second nuclei has z number of neutrons. So example of mirror nuclei are 6 carbon 11 and 6 5 boron 11. Now let's move to the next section of our discussion, that is binding energy. And binding energy is one of the fundamental topics from there generally the question asked. So let's move to the binding energy section. So let's start our discussion on the binding energy of the nucleus. So as we all know that inside the nucleus, and we have both nucleons, as nucleons are a number of protons and number of neutrons. And to separate neutrons and protons from each other, we need a few megaelectron volts of energy, which is called the binding energy of the nucleus. The question is here is that what is the source of this energy? From where this source where this binding energy comes from? So according to the mass energy equivalence of a special theory of relativity, the energy equivalent according to the complete conversion of the mass into the energy, it comes from the mc square formula, where m represents the mass of the nucleus, where and c represents the velocity of light in free space. In forming a nucleus, out of its constituents, particles, and then a fraction of total mass of the constituents disappear and produce in the form of energy. And this energy is equals to the binding energy of the nucleus. And this, disappearance in the mass of the constituents particles that are going to form a nucleus gives the binding energy of to the a particular nucleus. So how we can calculate the binding energy of a particular nucleus? If you know that how many number of protons and how many number of neutrons are available in particular nucleus, and you also know the mass number of the nucleus. So if you want to calculate the binding energy for a particular nucleus, then you should use the Einstein mass energy equivalence formula. And according to the Einstein mass energy equivalence formula, you have binding energy equals to delta m, the disappearance in the mass, times the c square, where c represents the velocity of light. And disappearance in the mass is equals to disappearance in the mass equals to total mass of the constituents uh, subtracted by the mass of the atom, which has z number of protons and total number of nucleons is equal to a. So this multiplied by c square gives the binding energy of the nucleus. And then we simplify in terms of the nucleus, and then we get the formula: binding energy is equal to ZMP. This is then the total mass of the proton. Z then NMN represents the total mass of the neutrons, and then subtracted by the M nucleus, that mass of the nucleus that are we going to investigate, times the c square gives the binding energy. So in general, for any physics competitive exam, the questions are then directly asked from the binding energy part. they give the masses of the constituent particles and masses of the nucleus also, and they ask for the binding energy calculation. Sometimes they give the binding energy and masses of the constituent particles and ask for the mass of the nucleus. So you have used this formula, and using this formula you can easily calculate the all the parameters that is generally asked in the exam. So now let's move to the next part of the video, that is binding frictional curve or binding energy per nucleon curve, and where the generally the most of the properties are explained of the nucleus. So let's move to the binding friction curve. So binding frictional curve or binding energy per nucleon curve with the number of nucleons is one of the most important topics in the nuclear physics, from where the questions are generally asked. So let's first look at the binding frictional curve. The binding frictional curve represents the binding energy per nucleon versus the number of nucleons. If we plot, then we get this kind of pattern, and on the y-axis we have binding energy per nucleon, and on the x-axis we have number of nucleons. If we look at the curve, then we get a few peaks corresponding to certain number of nucleons, and a few dips also corresponding to a few number of nucleons. Or we can call the particular nucleus also. So, and we see that number of binding energy per nucleon going to increase as we increase the number of nucleons, and then it's achieve a maximum value, and after that it start decreasing. Then why it is so, we will discuss in this particular discussion. So we can calculate the binding energy per nucleon easily. If we know the binding energy, then we divide it by the total number of nucleons, that is number of atomic mass. The atomic mass is equal to number of protons plus number of neutrons. So then we get the fractional binding energy, and if we plot it with the number of nucleons, then we get this kind of curve. So what are the main findings of this curve, we will discuss in this particular section. So let's discuss the observation from the binding frictional curve. So we know that Fb represents the fractional binding energy, or binding energy per nucleon. Then Fb is very small for very little nuclei, that like hydrogen, helium, these kind of nuclei, and goes on increasing rapidly with the increasing in A, that is number of nucleons, and reaches a maximum value of around 8 mega electron volt per nucleon for the mass number of A equal to 20. That is around the calcium. Calcium is has the number of protons equal to 20. Sorry. Here we discuss the number of nucleons. So number of nucleons equal to 20 for the neon. The neon has that Z equal to 10, so has total number of nucleons equal to 20. Thereafter, the rise of the curve is much slower, reaching a maximum value of 8.7 mega electron volt per nucleon for total number of nucleons equal to 56. Because here we have maximum peak. Here we have peak in the binding energy per nucleon curve, and is represented for the iron, because iron have 26 and 56 configuration, and it is the maximum binding energy of the 8.7 mega electron volt per nucleon. So questions are generally asked from the which the maximum binding energy, and if we increase a further, then the curve will start decreasing slowly. This is the first output of the binding frictional curve. And then second output is that the variation in frictional binding energy is very slight in the mass number range of 20 to 180, and in this region Fb may be considered to be virtually constant with a mean value of 8.5 mega electron volt per nucleon, and this represents also the radially saturation of the nuclear forces that we will discuss in the subsequent sections when we are going to discuss the properties of the nuclear forces. So we will discussing the observation of the binding frictional curve. We discuss here the two main findings of the binding frictional curve. Now let's move to the next few findings of the binding frictional curve. So few more findings of the binding frictional curve are: for a number of nucleons greater than 180, there is for heavy nucleus, the frictional binding energy value start decreasing monotonically with increasing the number of nucleons, and it is comes to the 7.5 megaelectronvolt per nucleon for the heaviest nuclei, for around the uranium kind of nuclei. And this is the third main finding of the binding frictional curve. Now move to the next and most important finding of the binding frictional curve, that a rapid fluctuation in the fractional binding energy is noted for the very light nuclei, with the peaks in the curve for this region corresponding to the even nuclei such as 4 helium, 8 beryllium, carbon 12 and oxygen 16, and that is with mass number A equals to 4 times of n, where n represents an integer value, and peaks in the curve are seen at z or n equals to 20, 28, 50, 82 and 126. These are called the magic numbers. Here we also include few more magic numbers. Those are 2. Some books also include magic numbers which are 2 and 8. That is number of neutrons equals to 2 and number of neutrons equals to 8. The total number of numbers we have, magic numbers are 2, 8, 20, 28, 50, 82 and 126. These are the nuclei which are more stable than the nearby nucleus. So these are called the magic numbers. And if you uh, look at binding energy finding, binding frictional curve findings, then you find out that for calcium 20, 40, it is doubly magic number, doubly magic number nucleus, because it has 20 number of protons, it is also magic number, and 20 number of neutrons, it is also a magic number. So it has most number of isotopes. Isotopes are, that is number of protons are remain same, while the number of nucleons within the nucleus are changed, that is atomic mass going to change. Then calcium nucleus has the 7 number of isotopes, 7 number of isotopes, that is most number of isotopes that a nucleus has. Sometimes this question is also asked that which nucleus has the most number of isotopes, then you should answer that the calcium nucleus also has the maximum number of isotopes. So these are the main findings from the binding energy, binding frictional curve. Now move to the next part of the video. So further we will going to discuss a few more important or frequently asked topics from the nuclear, fundamental of nuclear properties are mass defect, packing fraction and nuclear size. And if you want to uh, look at how the questions comes from these topics, then you should watch this video till the end, because in the end section we going to solve few frequently asked questions in the previous year question papers in various physics competitive exams. So stay tuned with us. So let's start our discussion on the mass defect. The difference between the so mass defect is the difference between the measured atomic mass and the mass of the nucleus. That's the number of nucleons within the nucleus, and it is uh, it is mathematically represented by delta m prime equals to maz and subtracted by a. So this is the mass defect. Now, what is the packing friction? Packing friction of the nucleus or is represented by F and is defined as the mass defect divided by total number of nucleons within the nucleus. So we can calculate the packing fraction of a nucleus is equals to F, F equals to delta M prime divided by A, and this will represent the how strongly the number of nucleons are bounded within the nucleus. Now let's move to the nuclear size, that how we can decide the nuclear size. So from experimental observation, this is not the theoretical prediction. From the experimental observations, we have scientists found that we can the total density or mass density of the nucleus remains constant for all the nucleus. So we represent mass density equals to number of nucleons divided by volume equals to constant. So basically the volume of the nucleus is directly proportional to the number of nucleons, and if we consider the nucleus as spherical, charge or spherical box, uh, then we can calculate the volume as the 4 by 3 pi r cube proportional to a, and from here we calculate the value of radius of the nucleus, that is proportional to number of nucleons to power 1 by third, and this is the formula for the number radius of the nucleus. And from this formula the questions 99% chance are that questions are generally asked from this formula of the radius of the nucleus. So the one of the most important formula in the nucleus, or the basic properties of the nucleus. So now we start our discussion on the charge distribution within the nucleus, and this is the second last topic of this video. So if we say that if rho xyz be the volume density of the charge of the nucleus with center mass at the origin, so that we can represent the radius square is equal to r square equal to x square plus y square plus z square, and we can calculate the charge density on the this is the general formula. Here we do not discuss the derivation how this come, but the questions are generally asked the how the charge density of the nucleus can be represented by which formula. So we directly put the formula here, and so you should remember this formula, and this is directly asked in the various physics competitive exams. And then using this charge distribution, when this charge within the nucleus are distributed asymmetrically, then nucleus has the finite quadrupole moment, and we can calculate the quadrupole moment by using this formula. So using second formula of the for the quadrupole moment, uh, we can analyze that for a perfectly spherical charge distribution, we have the shape of the nucleus is kind of spherical, and for the quadrupole moment positive we have the prolate kind of shape, and then for the negative quadrupole moment we have the oblate kind of shape. So these shapes are very also important, because in not in the physics competitive exams, also in the physics interviews also the shapes of based on the quadrupole moment shapes of the nucleus is also asked in various physics related job interviews, and also in PhD interviews these kind of questions are generally asked. And now we will going to discuss the properties of the nuclear forces, and these properties are very fundamental, and the questions are generally asked from the nuclear properties as well. So let's start our discussion on the nuclear force and properties of the nuclear forces. So we know that inside the nucleus there are proton, neutrons, and protons repel each other because the protons have positive charge, and we have find out that there is a strong force between the proton proton, neutron neutron, and proton and neutrons also. So these forces are what are the forces that combine all these nucleons within the nucleus. What are the properties of these forces? These are properties are proved by experimentalists, that what are the properties of the nucleus, or later on the theoretical physicists also contributed to this section. So properties of the of these forces are the followings, and the first properties are they are the short range forces, that these forces are only these forces are only valid within the limit of the nucleus. Then the second property is that they are charge independent. That is, the force or strength of the force remains same between the proton proton, proton neutron, and neutron neutron as well. And then third properties are they are the strongest known force in nature. That is most strongest known force in the nature after the sorry even more stronger than the electromagnetic force. So these are the strongest known force in the nature. And then fourth properties are they are radially saturated by the surrounding nucleus. That's why we get the nearly very small increase in the binding fractional curve of that is binding energy per nucleon curve with the number of nucleons. We have nearly very small increase in the binding energy per nucleon. This is the because the region of the they are radially saturated by the surrounding nucleons. and then fifth properties are they are spin dependent, and sixth properties are they are non-central forces. So these are the discussion on the basic properties of the nucleus. Now let's move to the section of the how questions are asked in the various physics competitive exam in the last physics exams, last previous year questions of the various exams. So first question is that the minimum momentum of a nucleon in a nucleus with mass number a varies as, and the options are varies as proportional to a as a square. Option C is a to power minus 2 by third, and then option D is a to power minus 1 by third. And this is also asked in various GATE exams repeatedly. And here we also just put a number of GATE 2000 here, but it is also asked in few years back also, and it is repeatedly asked in various physics competitive exams. So if we want to calculate it, then we use to uncertainty relation, and we find the momentum value using the uncertainty relation. And if we use that delta x equal to delta p times equals to the h cut is the Planck constant divided by 2 pi, and then we calculate the change in the uncertainty in the momentum, then we find the mean momentum of the nucleons. And here we put the uncertainty in the position is equals to total diameter of the nucleus, because the maximum uncertainty in the position of the nucleon can be the total equal to the number of size of the nucleus. So we put delta x equals to 2r, then we can put r equals to r naught divided by 1 by third, and from here we can easily find that r delta p is proportional to minus 1 by third. So option D here is correct. Then next question is that the order of magnitude of the binding energy per nucleon in a nucleus. This is also asked in GATE 2006 and later on also. And from if you remember the discussion that we discussed today in the binding energy or binding frictional curve or binding energy per nucleon curve with the number of nucleons, you find out that we discussed that most of the binding energy per nucleon are of the order of 10 mega electron volt. So option D are here is directly you can choose that option D is correct. But if you want to calculate the how we can find out that this binding energy of the order of 10 mega electron volt, then you can use the kinetic energy formula, and you put the value of delta p. The delta p we can calculate from the again the Heisenberg uncertainty relation, and put all those values here, and you can find that kinetic energy values is of the order of 10 mega electron volt. So option D is here is also correct. Our next question is that the stable nucleus that has 1 by third the radius of the 189 OS nucleus is option A is 7 lithium, option B is oxygen 16, and option C is helium 4, and option D is nitrogen 14. So we know that to find out the radius of a nucleus, we have the formula R equals to R naught divided by R equal to R naught multiplied by a to power 1 by third. And using this formula, we can easily calculate the ratio of to radius, and in terms of the ratio of atomic masses. And from here, we can easily find out the value of atomic mass for arbitrary nucleus. If mass of the one nucleus is given, and we find out that mass of the unknown nucleus is equal to 7, and for 7 mass number 7, we have only one option, that is option A is correct. Now question number 4 is that the binding energy force or the binding force per nucleon is approximately constant leads to means what is the reason for the constant binding energy per nucleons. The first option is the saturation property of the nuclear force, and B is the short range nature, and C is the non-central nature, and option D is the spin dependency. So we already discussed this is that this is due to the saturation properties of the nuclear forces. So option A is correct. Now question number 5 is that binding energy per nucleon is maximum for uh, for IN56 we also discussed it already, and these are questions are already asked in the previous year question in various physics competitive exam. So you can prepare such kind of questions, and we already discussed all of these things in the our video. So if you look at all these video again, then you find out that you can solve these questions are very easily. Now question number 6 is that for a nucleus to possess an quadrupole moment, the minimum condition is that uh, it should have a charged asymmetric distribution. And for our charge asymmetric distribution, we should have the nuclear spin is greater than 1 by 2. And it is not discussed here, but we will discuss in the subsequent videos that we are going to make a few more videos on the nuclear and particle physics section, around 4 or 5. So in those subsequent videos we will discuss going to this. And now question number 7 is that with reference to the nuclear force, which of the following statements is not true? And the nuclear forces are short range, option A; option B, charge independent; option C is velocity dependent; option D is spin independent. So we already discussed it also that the nuclear forces are spin dependent. So option D is wrong here, because we all statement is not true. So option D is correct here. That is nuclear forces are spin dependent, but here it is written that nuclear forces are spin independent. Now move to the next section. Next section is that our next question is that the deviation of the charge distribution of a nucleus from spherical symmetry can be estimated by the measuring its first is electric charge, second is dipole electric dipole, third is the magnetic dipole moment, and option D is the electrical quadrupole moment. So we already discussed that the quadrupole moment represents the charge asymmetric distribution of the nucleus. So option D is correct here. So that's all for today. And if you like this video and you think that this video is going to help you in your physics competitive exam, then you can like, share and subscribe uh, our YouTube channel or Physics Exam Point, and you can share this content with your friends and whoever want to look at this video, and this video definitely going to help him or her in their physics competitive exams. So all the best for your exams, and keep watching, keep studying Physics Exam Point.